Hello, I'm playing a Let's Play world. I made a farm.
The player you're watching right now goes by the username Navy208. He chats to us casually as he shows off his house and his farm, completely unaware that he's being watched. The story begins with a series of relatively normal YouTube videos, but skyrockets down a deeply strange and unsettling rabbit hole, with multiple players going missing and something very unnatural just watching. But let's rewind a little back to Navy, who starts off his first video wondering what happened to his skin, though we don't get much context as to what exactly is wrong. He gives us a tour of his house, his mildly lackluster farm, and his strangely ambiguous green block atop a tree. Navy then shows us some of the land and expands the back of his house and ends the recording there, picking up where he left off in his second video titled Windows. He tries using a door as fuel despite having 17 coal and... wait, there it is. Atop a hill in the distance, for just a second, we can get a glimpse of a strange black block, watching Navy with two eyes. Navy doesn't notice it though, and continues walking around his base unaware. He comes back to the furnace. The door didn't smelt, so he swaps in coal. He digs holes for the windows. The glass continues to smelt. The block still on the hill outside. Navy leaves the house, looking around. Does he know? He harvests his cacti, evidently unaware he's being watched. Or is he pretending? His items finish smelting. His coal runs dry. He places in the windows of the house, one by one by one by one, avoiding the spot with the block on the hill. He digs a tunnel into the basement of his sandstone foundation. He tiles his floor with cobblestone. The video ends. Nothing happens. But there's a detail of this footage that I left out. At the start of the video, we see the chat history between Navy and a player called exci-BOOO.
Yo, I'm back. Yeah, I'll come back later. Okay, I'll record a video.
The two then talk about a sheep, and Base logs off. But remember Base, because this isn't the last we'll see of him. The first two videos so far have been odd, but pretty subtle. However, video 3... the black block from before has now totally consumed Navy's base with fire, but Navy returns in the next video to no trace of it. Instead, a sign just saying sunlight. Interestingly, as Navy tours the rubble, we can see the black block is now gone from its perch on the hill. In its stead, however, the solid green blocks we saw in video 1 have now replaced Navy's cacti. Navy is clearly puzzled and continues to walk around the world, unsure what to even make of it all. Also worth noting, the arm in this video isn't the blue skin we've seen before. Instead, it's a regular Steve. The sun sets, and the video ends with Navy walking over to a pumpkin patch. The next video, titled Watching, is just 7 seconds of the black blocks. Nothing else. So we know these black blocks are important, but this then begs the obvious question, what is their purpose? Why did they burn down Navy's house? And who's watching him? We don't know much yet, but we get a better idea of what's going on here when we take a look at the description of the last video. The message seems like total gibberish, but if you attach it to the end of a YouTube URL, it takes you to an unlisted video on Navy's channel. Inside, the footage is very strange. It's of a player with a pumpkin on their head and an inventory containing a nether star, 5 space-looking blocks, 2 tulips, and a book. But this isn't any inventory. It's the same amount of levels as what Navy had in the last video right before he walked up to a pumpkin patch. The player, Navy or not, walks back to the house to find 3 signs on a cosmic block of sorts. We can't make out 2 of the signs. This one might say base, but the third sign is in plain sight. Base with a lot of ease. The player keeps walking around for a little before the video ends, and there's also a comment from Navy himself.
The night is approaching.
But what does it mean? It's obvious that this might have something to do with base XD, but the connection isn't really obvious. My first reaction is that maybe Navy was captured. It does seem like his XP amount, but what happened to his inventory is a mystery. All we do know is that from here on, things are going to get far stranger, as in the next video, The Eye That Watches, Navy abandons his base with just a brick in his hotbar and sets off into the desert. In the top corner of the screen, we can see the black block, back atop a tree, watching Navy. He leaves his house and keeps walking, seemingly unaware of the black blocks that line the rim of every body of water he passes. He either somehow doesn't notice, or for some reason is pretending not to. He continues until he reaches a savanna plateau. He climbs over the edge of a hill and sees red cows. Surely he should react, but he doesn't. He keeps walking until there's no excuse not to see it anymore. Navy stares at the cows, and the video ends. Something is evidently wrong with Navy's world, and maybe even Navy himself given his lack of a reaction, but we don't get much time to think it over since the next video takes us into a completely different world. The video titled Forest notably doesn't have Navy's usual skin and is in a square aspect ratio with far worse quality than before. The video consists of a player hiding from a skeleton, burrowing down into the ground, and only when they think the coast is clear running off into the dark of night, just in time for the sun to rise. A minute in, we see a suspiciously dark block, but it may just be a lighting issue. Though while this video itself doesn't have much out of the normal, its description sure does. The text is encoded in zeros and ones, binary, and translating it to English using an online decoder gives us this string: "Don't kill the animals, or that will be mad." Is the "that" referring to the dark block we saw, or is it something else entirely? And whose gameplay even is this? Is it an earlier Navy or someone else? Until further notice, I'll call this person Steven, and we see Steven start off his next video killing a pig, which, might not be the smartest move, I can't lie. Steven stumbles around the plains in the dead of night, nothing strange, but as he comes up over a hill, he freezes. He notices a witch before booking it in the opposite direction, running through a crowd of mobs, tanking hit after hit, until again the video ends with him dying. But this time, the description of the video isn't just a cryptic message. Translating the zeros and ones, we get a link to an unlisted video titled experimentbase.json. Again, we have a new skin, this time red and blue, but the structure they're standing in front of is even more peculiar. It seems to be some sort of shrine made out of blocks we can't exactly identify, with an end portal frame on top. The player stares it down for a few seconds before jumping into the vast ocean in front of them. And that's it. What we just watched is odd, but it isn't obvious how it connects to either Navy or Steven. But luckily, we can tune right back into Steven's story, as the next video picks up with him walking through a savanna, and then this happens.
Hey.
Steven turns to run, taking shelter in a nearby cave, shaking his head no, but Base says to come closer, and Steven obliges. The video ends abruptly, with a brief chat message flickering in the bottom of the screen before it cuts. This is the fourth time the name Base has come up, and the second time we've seen it directly on a player. So does this Base have anything to do with the Base XD we saw in Navy's videos? It could be, but whoever he is, it seems Steven is irrationally scared of the guy, yet also obedient given he comes back when Base asks him to. It's not enough to draw any conclusions yet. All we can do is follow the story, which takes us to the video port, where Steven, I assume, is building up a little house by the beach. The video is extremely normal until 26 seconds in, the screen goes black and this text appears. It then cuts back like nothing happened and Steven finishes the port. But okay, this wasn't an ordinary message, it's clearly some sort of code. And decoding the message from base 64, which you can identify by the two equal signs at the end, gets you another link to an unlisted video, Inside 2. If you remember Inside 1, this video also has someone with a pumpkin on their head, but this time the space blocks are gone and it's just some tulips and another pumpkin. In the corner, we can see a pig held captive in a little plot of glass, with the sign underneath saying this:
Tom, the last pig on Earth.
The player places a tulip and it cuts there, and from what I understand so far, we're watching 3 stories unfold all at once. One is the story of Navy, the player we started this mystery with, who is just showing us around his base while being watched by a strange dark block in the distance. The dark blocks become more and more prevalent, and Navy runs into more and more anomalies before his footage suddenly runs cold. We then get the story of Steven, another player player who, like Navy, is seemingly also just trying to play Minecraft, and if the next video is any indication, is also about to run into something strange. Finally, we have the Inside Man, a figure with a pumpkin on his head that seems to be more in the know as to what's going on, given he's had direct access to the cosmic blocks themselves. Not to mention, assuming that Inside Man isn't Navy, we know he has access to Navy's world as well. It's also very possible that this Inside 2 video was recorded on the same island where Steven built his port, in which case Inside Man has access to both worlds. And I'd even wager that this Inside Man might also be the same person we see in experiment-base.json, given the weird nature of that video. Speaking of base though, both Navy and Steven have had interactions with someone named Base, though to be fair, Navy's base seemed totally normal, while Steven's base, well, you know. It's unclear what the connection between these three stories exactly is yet, but we know that there's at least some link between Inside Man and Navy, and, well, as I alluded to, Steven is also about to get roped into the fray. Steven starts off this video, again, killing a pig, a decision which may not be the most wise and doesn't go very long unpunished. Steven boards himself inside the house, the strange crying entity following close behind. It isn't that scary of a creature, but its existence is definitely abnormal. Why is this thing here? Steven checks if the coast is clear before walking around to make sure that the thing isn't there anymore. He walks back into his house before tearing down the door and boarding himself in, and that's the last we see from him. The description of this video is another base64 URL, but this time it's part of a Mediafire link to an image called ttlo.png. Though the link is broken and we can't actually download the image, we now almost surely know that Navy and Steven are both being watched and tracked down by someone, but that someone's intentions are still very much unknown. Is it really for killing animals? Well, killing animals, especially pigs, has been a recurring motif in the series. Navy, as you may notice, only feasts on pork. Steven starts off 2 of his videos killing a pig, and Inside Man is pretty concerned with preserving pigs, a goal that aligns with whoever the he we heard about earlier is. In any case, things are about to go from bad to worse, because in the next video, I Want to See You, we're actually back to some very oversaturated footage from Navy himself. I know this isn't his usual skin, but you'll just have to take my word for it, and I'll show this as Navy later on. He walks through a regular field, but then we see something odd in the tree next to him, and the video cuts. The word stop appears on screen, and the footage repeats over and over in some sort of loop before it breaks and the video ends. The floating head we saw resembled that of the entity that jumped Steven in the last video, and it's clear that what was coming for him has just come for Navy as well. The description is more base64, and it's the same message over and over and over again. Do the eyes see me? Creepy on its own, but the description of the following video is even more concerning. We're back to Navy's original blue hand, but in a place we've never seen before. A long corridor of the eye blocks, all watching Navy. Actually, wait, this isn't Navy at all. The difference is subtle, but these darker 2 pixels aren't on the edges of Navy's arm, but they are for whoever this is. This is someone new. The mystery figure walks for a while before reaching a sign with some odd text. He keeps walking and runs into a very simple looking base setup, and then a second sign, equally sparse, then a third. He then enters a room with a structure like the one we saw in experiment-base.json, with an eye block watching from atop a pedestal. There's a pit with a sign written in gibberish, and our player hesitates for a little before taking the plunge down. If we analyze the signs we walked past, we can see that each random symbol corresponds with a letter. Putting them all together, of course, spells I. In the next video, Ascend, our mystery man descends deeper into the complex, entering a huge room with eyes everywhere. In the corner, we can spot another pig trapped in glass, a strange clump of leaves, a stream of water, and an obsidian shrine with eyes all over it. The player keeps walking through it, taking it all in. He passes by a cluster of signs with one word written all over them. eye. He keeps walking into another group of signs with very, very unsettling messages.
Please, my eyes. I won't kill them anymore. Navy 208. Please forgive us. Ascend, take me back. Ascend is our god.
Our character is momentarily transfixed before then eyeing what looks like a replica of Navy's old base from the very beginning. He keeps walking. The player then reads one more final sign, asking if he'd like to ascend. This is by far the most important video we've seen yet. The text below the red face, who I can only guess is meant to be Ascend himself, apparently confirms that he's some sort of angel, god, deity type figure. He's likely the same he who doesn't wish animals to be killed, hence why some of the signs are asking for forgiveness, saying they won't kill anymore. We can guess that it's this Ascend figure who's been controlling all the eyes, watching over Navy and Steven. But who is this new figure that's inside his complex? Is it Inside Man, Base? Luckily, the next video picks up right where this one left off, and the player falls into a totally white room. He walks through a few signs.
Did I ascend? Do I ascend? Ascend with them. Trust our god, ascend. We will ascend.
He keeps walking, through the white and back into the eye blocks. And there's our god once again. The footage suddenly cuts though, and we're greeted by a familiar hotbar, Inside Man. The screen is half covered in eyes, and we can barely tell what's going on. Briefly, we can see the book in his hand is titled Ascend. He runs through plenty of signs that I can't make out, but this one definitely says, I need eyes. The next video picks up with Inside Man running through the same area, coming across these new red eye blocks. It suddenly cuts to a piece of text, which I'll come back to in a moment, and when it cuts back, Inside Man is investigating the large clump of these Ascend eyes, I'll call them. He hesitates before, of course, jumping down. Whoever Inside Man is, they're clearly going deeper and deeper into this Sky Eye complex. Whether they're part of it or some sort of infiltrator is yet to be known, but unlike the player from before, he seems to have some sort of idea of what he's doing. But let's revisit the text we saw earlier. Running it through a base 64 decoder, we get a Mediafire link to a file called ascendfootage.png. And I want to say now, do not do what I did and download files from the internet that you don't know who created. That's how you get viruses. With that said though, this is what the image looks like. It's a red filter over a beta house with a weird white light shining through the door. For a link that was on screen for essentially half the video, I was expecting something a bit more informative, but the next video takes us somewhere completely different. We now get to see a hand for the first time in a while, and it's an Alex skin we've never seen before. Someone actually left a comment about the skin change, to which Navy responds with a link to an Imgur file of a house. It looks like the same house we see in the video, except before some sort of disaster. Alex enters the house and looks around, showing us a strange black block in the top corner. The house extends much further back than you'd think, and Alex walks up to two tunnels, one labeled no exit and the other exit. After a bit of deliberation, Alex picks exit and continues down the hall. She heads down a side corridor and runs into a few signs. They're too dim to see at first, but brightening the video, we get, "Do you see me?" Alex turns around and heads towards the exit before the corridor turns into eyes. And of course, Alex jumps. The story picks up right back in the next video, and Alex looks around to find themselves in a strange gray world, the playground. There are spiraling towers, a tall pillar, trees made of wool, strange floating cacti, and suddenly a jump cut to the Ascend footage image we downloaded before. When we cut back, Alex is standing on a pile of Ascend eyes, and it appears she's back in the headquarters, but a few of the buildings remain. Alex runs off into the darkness and seems to materialize inside a house in the following video, the center. After a second of looking around, Alex walks outside outside into a gray world with signs waiting for them.
I watched you. I know what you did to them. I'm not gonna let that happen. Welcome to Experiment Base. You are gonna ascend. Follow me and ascend with me and the other people.
Beside her new house is a pen almost overflowing with pigs. Scattered all around are strange structures and pillars of blocks leading into clumps of ascend eyes watching over it all. Alex follows a trail of torches into a nearby building. There's a sign that says art, and as they walk in, we get hit with a very strange bit of audio. The video cuts back, and Alex stands in front of a pit of ascend eyes. I don't need to tell you what happens next, I'm sure you can guess. Let's try and digest what we just watched. It's uncertain if Alex is the same person as Inside Man, but given her hesitance and Inside Man's apparent confidence, I'd wager they're two different people. In that case, how Alex got to the house in the first place is unknown, but their behavior looks very similar to that of the player who got abducted into the Sky Eye. It could well be that they shared a similar fate. In any case though, after traveling through the various oddities of whatever this place is, Alex runs into these messages, which I'd guess are from Ascend himself. The most interesting sign by far though is this one. It implies that this whole setup is some sort of protocol or experiment made to deal with players who Ascend wants to capture. And actually, the sign Ascend with all of us makes me think that this writer isn't Ascend and maybe someone who works under him. Perhaps it's Base himself, though that's largely speculation for now. The audio we hear inside the house sounds like it could be some sort of audio cipher, though after putting it in both a spectrogram and oscilloscope, it came back with no hidden meaning. It seems like it's really just weird noise. There's also these buttons out on the front of the house, which I thought could be some sort of Morse or binary code, but no matter what I tried, assigning torches as dots, buttons as dots, multiple buttons as dashes, single buttons as dots, nothing gave any intelligible message. So all that we're left with is that this Alex player quote-unquote ascended, just like the others we've seen. But why? And by now, I'm sure you may have lots of other questions, but don't worry, because so does Navy. Our guy, Navy 208, is back, clearly not gone just yet. The arm we see here is the same arm that I told you was Navy a few videos ago, so we can assume that this is where he was sent after whatever that was captured him. Navy stumbles across a weird misshapen player named Void Base N566, and then we see something huge. This player has the exact same arm as the arm we saw from Sky Eye to Descend. This is that same player who was exploring the complex.
Hello? Who are you? You. Me. You. Me what? What do you mean? Him. Who? Hello? Ask. Who is Ask? Him. I don't understand. He wants me. What? My eyes. Eyes?
Void then turns his head at Navy, and Navy begins to run away, sprinting from Void.
Wait. No. No.
Finally, we're getting somewhere big. The description of this video is in binary and translates to the end of a Mediafire URL. Downloading it gives us an image of Void with more binary. Translating that gives us everyone will become Void. Evidently, when players ascend, they're turning into these hollow Void versions of themselves, hence the "they took him" in the description of Inside Man's first video. The ascend demon thing we saw earlier must be trying to convert people into Void for some reason or another. another, but we don't know why just yet, nor what the eyes have to do with anything. We've heard many mentions of eyes being important, but as for what they represent, it's still largely unclear. Regardless, we can only keep watching as Navy lands in a pit of Ascend eyes with a now corrupted inventory. He calls out to Void, but gets no answer. He keeps walking into a larger room, and in the distance, there he is. Ascend. Watching. But Navy's too late to react. Ascend approaches fast and... well... he's not the most scary, is he? But after that, Navy's screen turns into the same misshapen form we saw Inside Man and the Ascended players had earlier. This must happen when their eyes are taken. He runs away and the video ends. The description is just another link to an image of Ascend with 7 eyes. In the video and title, he only had 6, and after the encounter, half of Navy's screen is now black. You can piece together the rest. And it's not only Navy who gets a visit from this thing. The next video following Navy's ascension is from the perspective of someone called Maximum01. They give us a tour of their house and nothing out of the ordinary happens, except at the end of the video they happen to chop up a rabbit, and in the last few seconds they watch as the sun cracks and turns red. Maximum is immediately taken off guard and opens his inventory to find this. Text and lines littering the screen. Obviously he's confused, but just a few seconds later, someone named Hello joins the game. Maximum tries to talk to it, before suddenly the footage cuts and you can hear a man talking. It cuts back, and it turns out that what we just saw happened to Maximum live, and he freaks out. He runs back to his house, and then he sees it. He has a very reasonable reaction to seeing this thing and runs to hide inside his house. As he looks at the creature, it cuts to just a frame of its eye staring right at him, with a siren noise playing in the background. Hello says hello, and in a panic, Maximum boards up all of his windows, before telling Hello there's no chance in the world he's leaving his house. He stays inside, panicking, and the video ends. The description of this video is in base 64, 32, and 2 respectively. Translating it all, it gives us this. Hello, I am watching you. Come with me. The sun is gonna die soon. The end is near. It seems Hello is yet another entity that works under Ascend, and Maximum isn't his only target. I'm skipping 2 videos that I'll return to in a second, but in the video Open Your Eyes, we get a new player, this time with an Alex skin, Raid 10012. He is also giving a base tour, and all is normal until the screen cuts, and when we're back, all of his windows are replaced with eyes. The sun has died and gone a deep red, and standing behind him too is Hello, another victim. Though this time I want to suggest that maybe this raid guy is the same Alex we saw in the playground video and in the house video. The link in the description is just another image with the text "Do you see me?" and that's the same text as both the title of the first video the Alex skin appears in, the description of the following playground video, and the text we see on the sign. So maybe these are actually out of order. Raid was first captured by Hello, as we see here, and then transported to the house and playground dimension we saw later. But that's just a theory. A game theory. If you recognize this arm, I don't even have to tell you who it is. Navy. Earlier, I skipped 2 videos to get to Raid, and this is the first. He's in a new white room with Ascend eyes by the entrance. He descends down a long staircase of blocks, opening each one as he goes. Halfway down, the screen cuts to the message, "It's your fault." Navy continues, unfazed. He arrives at the base of the structure to find a world that looks like the playground, with a horribly disfigured sun. But looking around, it looks somewhat familiar. That's Navy's base. These are Navy's trees. This is Navy's world. Corrupted and turned into whatever we're looking at, littered with strange towers he never built. He reaches a pit of eyes, and for the first time in the series, a character doesn't jump down an ominous pit. He returns to the tower and climbs up a little before he sees this. And that's it. The thing stares Navy down before we cut to the next video, and Navy is running through a dark corridor. He reaches a junction and keeps running before the footage cuts to a picture of a city. He keeps going, and only a few seconds later we see the same thing. A city with the text, "It's your fault." But Navy just keeps running. And then this. Why? Then Navy stops and encounters another player, Void N Base.
I know you.
The screen cuts to black again.
It's all your fault, Navy. He is dead because of you. My brother. What? You and that stupid war. If he can't have the sun, you can't either. I've been watching you for years. I know what you did. I know everything. You work for them. Sorry.
Addressing the elephant in the room, the images you saw, if you haven't figured out yet, were all taken of Ukraine. The final image is the most obvious, and I was able to find it here, but the other images are also likely those of Ukrainian cities, with their signature blocky architecture. This is by far the most important video of the bunch, and we're finally getting a sense of what this series is all about. But before we talk about it, there's one detail about this all that I left out. If you look into the description, the binary turned Mediafire link isn't to an image, it's to a world, a send.rar. And I repeat now, do not download sketchy files off the internet. Unless you're me. Because unzipping the file, we get a Minecraft world. It seems totally uninteresting at first, but going all the way back to the center video and looking in the description, we see a set of coordinates. Teleporting to these coordinates takes us to a hidden room with a chest and a written book. Ascend by base. The binary translates to,
I miss you. I hope you are good. Goodbye, brother.
It's impossible to deny that this series has something to do with the Russian-Ukrainian war. The Ascend message placed over the Ukrainian soldier waving his flag, base mentioning the war that apparently Navy is a part of. Now all the why and it's your fault messages in the previous videos make sense. We know Navy is somehow involved in this conflict and evidently on the opposite side of base. The direct metaphor here is still uncertain though. What exactly is the message, and how do Ascend's goals line up with base, Navy, and all the other characters we've seen? It could be that the killing of animals and pigs is a parallel for the casualties in war, and Ascend is just some sort of being that punishes those who takes part in conflict, but that seems like a stretch given only what we've seen. But regardless, the series is about to come to a climax, and we're about to meet arguably our most important character yet. The skin has a Steve arm, but at this point we know it's a common trait. They walk through a dark forest towards their home, the sun absolutely bloodshot. They look around. They know something is coming for them. The player digs into their attic and reads 4 signs.
Hello, I am here. Bum. Do you see me?
He heads back down and opens a chest, and we can see his inventory is corrupted, just like Maximum's was. He grabs a strange item though. Its name is in Russian, and it translates to end. The player steps outside and begins swinging the item. He knows something is coming and he isn't afraid. The screen freezes and the text execute run execute displays on the hotbar with a giant eye looking down at us. It stays like this until a man talks in what is likely Russian. We see the message, "Open your eyes," and Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine, comes on screen with the text, "Do you see me?" and the video ends. We're getting 2 messages at once here. At first, on the surface level, our protagonist is clearly somewhat competent in fighting back against the monsters capturing people, unafraid of taking them on with his strange gadget. On a higher level, the series seems to be telling us to pay attention to Ukraine, not to be oblivious to the conflict they're fighting. It may be that Ascend, the collector of eyes, is representative of some force taking eyes off the war, silencing those who are aware. But then why do so many people want him to save them? All we know for certain is that this Steve here is the only one we've seen who can truly fight back. and he's not done yet. The next video continues with the same player now inside a large white room in the void. He takes a look around, peering over the edge at the various towers and bridges, looking for something, until someone called I'm Good says hello in chat. Our protagonist says hello back, and we can see his name is Russ00100.
Where are you? What? Where is Navy 208?
He is dead.
What? Who are you? Tell me, please.
Russ panics, threatening to jump off the map, asking I'm Good to take him out of this place. I'm Good stays silent and Russ jumps off, but he doesn't escape and he comes back with a corrupted inventory and broken skin. He runs back to the entity, begging. I'm Good gives no closure and Russ keeps jumping off, again to no avail, until finally he jumps one more time and finds himself in an even darker world, approaching 3 more I'm Goods as well as hello. The screen cuts to black with the words dead trees written all in caps. From what we've seen, Russ is the best hope of anyone figuring out how to stop Ascend and the rest of these beings. He's the first we've seen to survive a corruption, or at the very least get a reasonable response from an entity, but it's not enough, and apparently we now learn that Navy 208 never existed, that he was just a dream Russ created, though that may not necessarily be the case. In the description, we can find a code of ASCII, and translating it to text gives us another Mediafire link to an image with a simple message. Don't trust him, that's a lie. Don't trust who? What's the lie here? Who's lying? Is it I'm Good? Is Navy really alive? Russ walks through a corridor, reaching a sign labeled Navy 208. Another door with a sign referencing Maximum 01 and someone named Stambrop, and a final sign down the hall for Raid 11012. He opens tab and everyone is there. Silent. Russ opens Navy's door to find him well and alive. The entity was lying. Russ begins to talk to him.
Navy, I thought you were dead.
Navy doesn't respond, and instead throws him a book.
I can't talk. I found the way to escape. That thing lied. I'm real. I'm alive. Trust me, that thing is not real. The behemoth is the creator. He created Ascend. Ascend is just one of them, like you. Ascend recruits more people into this cursed place for the behemoth. In some time, the behemoth comes here to eat us. But don't worry, I know how to escape in case the behemoth is coming.
Russ doesn't understand, and they decide to just wait. In the meantime, he opens the other doors of the corridor, confirming everyone is really there. Navy throws Russ another book.
If you are reading this, the behemoth is coming. Use this thing I gave you. You know how to use it. We need to kill him now, or everyone will turn into more creatures and this will never end. I just want to say goodbye to you in case you don't make it. I just wanted to play a normal game, but this ended bad. By the way, Base XD, our friend, was killed by the behemoth. We won't see him anymore. Thank you. Goodbye. Navy 208 to Russ 00100.
When the footage cuts back, Russ is holding a tulip and returns to the room to find Navy waiting for him. They head together back down into a normal world. Every player that was trapped in that final room we saw was captured by Ascend. It's likely that Stamberop is Steven, the player we saw with the bad Minecraft footage. And if Navy is to be believed, even Ascend himself is just another player captured and morphed into an entity by the behemoth to collect eyes for one reason or another. From my understanding, maybe Base, the original, had some sort of deal with the behemoth and was working on his side, hence how he has control over the fallen stars and other entities. And as he said, this isn't over yet. There are just 5 more videos left before we get to the bottom of this whole thing, the first consisting of an unknown player with a Steve skin innocently building a house where nothing at all of note happens. Though interestingly, it's the same house we saw all the way back in the image at the beginning titled Ascend footage. It could be that this is some sort of genesis, an inciting incident from the past, and maybe this is even gameplay of Ascend himself before he got turned into whatever we see in the future videos. But there's not that much to go off of, and luckily the next video has returned to Navy as he comes back to his world. Everything is totally normal and he repairs his house, thanking us for all that's happened. Though for some reason, he gets advancements again, ones that he should already have unlocked and there's no reason to be getting twice. But that doesn't matter, it seems as though he's finally won, right? But the binary in the description leads to a third unlisted video which begs to differ. A dark entity bigger than any we've seen yet standing before us. This isn't over yet. Navy begins to notice things that are wrong. His skin has gone black and he tells us there's something he found in his world that shouldn't be there. The footage bugs horribly while he runs, as if something is taking a toll on his world. And then we see it. A house that shouldn't exist because Navy didn't build it, but Steven or Stamberop or whoever this is did. This house is a block for block replica we see in the encounter with the entity video, down to the torch by the ground. But what it's doing in Navy's world now is a complete mystery. But Navy's not done. He takes us over to something else he found, a tunnel. This time I have no idea what this is referencing. It seems like a random tunnel, but who knows, maybe I'm missing something. Navy goes to leave the area, but as he does, we see it. Another black player, watching Navy inside his world, but he doesn't notice. After all this, there's still something watching him. Navy takes us home, unaware the player is following him. He chops cacti, then plants it, and without warning runs back to the area with the house and the tunnel. The black figure is gone, but Navy discovers a pit he's never seen before. But he doesn't jump down, and instead just heads home again, looking behind him as if he feels someone is watching, but no one's there. And just like that, the video ends. Finally, we've reached the climax. Navy leaves his house to see eye blocks sprawling everywhere. 2 giant entities stand behind his base with the dark player flying in front of them.
Base, what is this? This is the end, Navy. What do you mean? I was never your friend, Navy. I hate you since you did what you did that day. I'm sorry. Stop this now, please.
Please.
Am I the only one wondering who Neo is? The final video on Navy's channel is called Outside. It's of a player with a black skin running through a looped series of tunnels covered in eyes. At the end, we can barely make out the legs of something massive, but as quickly as it started, it ends. And we're left with that. Except we're not, because as I finished writing the script, Navy uploaded one final video onto his channel. I was gonna end this video with a series of questions: what Navy's relationship with base was, what all this had to do with Ukraine, what the behemoth was, but no, this video answers all of that. We open up to a player digging out a mine and then running up the stairs to find a sign.
Don't kill animals, please. I like them, okay?
The player responds, and we can see a strangely familiar name on a pig across the hall. The player exits the mine but is shocked to find that their entire base is now completely decimated. A tower of lava stands in the distance and a Russian flag blows in the wind atop the base. The player runs over to more signs. They don't know how to respond at first, but place down two of their own.
Hello, Navy 208. No worries, we can be friends, Navy 208.
Clearly, they don't really mean it though, as they then trash the signs with blocks, trashing the flag as well. But in their rage, they spot one more message in the rubble, a promise of revenge from yet another familiar name. Of course, base says yes, and the rest is history. This was the Genesis, Navy 208, Base XD, Ascend 2015. These were all Russian hackers, Russian players who raided Base's server and griefed his home, a home that he shared with his brother, so naturally, of course, he would fight back. There's still the question of how exactly it all got to be this way, what the eyes really meant, and how Ascend 2015 turned from a normal player into that. But even now, the puzzle pieces to solving the mysteries of this story are all laid out in front of us. The question is, can you put them together?